Hi. Got a microphone. I'm David. I work at Tesco. I'm a developer. Just let me get my notes, get prepared and everything. So I've worked at Tesco since 2008. I'm very proud to work on the grocery home shopping site, as we call it internally, or Tesco Groceries, or whatever you call it. I've been a developer since 1995. And primarily on the front end. I was more of a sort of polyglot developer before joining Tesco, but I've had the opportunity to specialize on the front end. Over the last few years, we've moved from a set of different websites on different stacks in how many countries we're in? 8, I think. 8. Yeah, 8 countries, in lots of different countries, to one stack which works for all countries. And we've made some big achievements along the way there. So today I'm going to talk about an often considered topic. I expect you all know parts of this, but I don't see it being done very well in parts of Tesco and throughout the web. It can be done a lot better, so I want to show you how we've done it over the last few years. Hopefully you can take something from that. Then I want to talk about where I think this topic is going over the next few years as well. So before I do that, I've got some prizes up here. If you can get, they're Tesco themed, obviously. If anybody who doesn't work for Tesco can tell me what year the first grocery online shopping order was, they will win this. Go on.
2010?
No. Miles out. Come on.
97?
Nope. Earlier.
2003?
Earlier. No. That's the closest one. I'm going to give you the prize. It's actually 1984. Before the web. I'm going to show you a short video on... yeah, exactly.
1984. Gateshead. A 72-year-old grandmother sat in her armchair, picked up her remote control and started a retail revolution. Mrs. Jane Snowball was part of a local council initiative to help the elderly and infirm. She'd been given a groundbreaking bit of computer technology to order groceries from her local Tesco. It was called Videotex.
Mrs. Snowball never saw a computer. Never. Mrs. Snowball saw a television. Her connection to the television was a TV remote with an additional button which said phone. What effectively we did was to take a domestic television in a home and turn it into a computer terminal.
I know when to go out, know when to stay in, get things done.
It took just 15 minutes to teach this trailblazing silver surfer how to order online.
1984, and you're doing online shopping. It was amazing, and she loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And what do you think of it?
I think it's wonderful.
Mrs. Snowball ordered eggs, margarine and cornflakes, reassuringly British. 5 years before the World Wide Web was invented, her order was sent down the phone line to her local branch of Tesco, who picked the items off the shelf, ready for delivery.
It changed the world of shopping. What I'd done was to make shopping functional. So I've stripped out all the theatre, made it functional, anytime, any place, anywhere. Virtual merchandise.
Right, so there's a couple of serious points in there. Tesco is actually quite innovative. access to groceries online is a lifeline to people that many people don't really appreciate. We tend to think of it as a kind of big, innovative, flashy kind of front end, but really being able to buy food online is an important accessibility issue, and that's part of what keeps me at Tesco, because I'm very interested in that. And so we have a big social responsibility there, which we do our best to fulfill. Yeah, anyway, right, next slide. Okay, right, so we saw Mrs. Snowball as this big part of what we do now is access to groceries is extremely important. So online is a lifeline for a lot of people. Before I go any further with this, I've got a shameless plug for myself. I nearly died in 2018. I was very ill. I had to have open heart surgery. And this weekend I'm going to run a half marathon. If anybody wants to sponsor me, please do so. The link is on the slide on every screen. So I want to talk about loading bundles now. So I've created a small application which demonstrates what I'm talking about. So you'll probably be used to this kind of execution. Maybe you've used Defer as well, where the script is downloaded via script tags, and then it executes, and that's done synchronously. So I've got a simple application which loads some bundles. You'll be used to this kind of implementation. The first example, loading bundles, just creates a HTML page, and it loads 3 different script tags. So the way that's organized is like this. We've got a script in the head like this, a normal declarative style, and the effect of doing that when you refresh the page is test123. So those script files are loaded in order, and the execution order is preserved because they're synchronous. So nice and simple. So you can improve that by loading this code in the foot, because if these script files take a while to load, then obviously the page is going to take a while. So we can see the effect of that by throttling these files, and they're taking a while to load. And you're probably used to this kind of thing. If the script file takes a while to load, then the page takes a while to appear. So the page was requested, the response was received, but it still requests the file. So loading the scripts in the foot obviates that problem, so this page appears, but you still got to wait for these things to come down. And they're still synchronously loaded, so they're blocking other requests in the meantime. So loading them in the footer like that just gives you the page a little bit earlier. It's not really doing you many favors. So what you can do instead of that, and you probably do this yourselves, is to add a defer attribute to your script. So in this example, this allows the scripts to download in parallel to the rest of the downloads, but it still comes after the DOM parser is done. Now, what we have at Tesco is a shopping trolley, right? So your page is a shopping trolley, and you may be used to going to Amazon or something and adding a single item, maybe 2 items to your basket, and then checking out. When it comes to Tesco, people check out hundreds of items at a time. They put 50 different types of product into their basket. The DOM is absolutely colossal. So you have to wait for that to come down, parse, and execute before you can actually see anything on the screen. So defer really doesn't get your scripts in early enough to the page to work in that scenario. So defer will work for most. So when the page is slow to load, you're not starting to request your scripts until the bottom of the page is received. So if you can put defer on them, and you can put them at the bottom, but you're not really loading it any quicker. You're just sort of putting it off to a bit later. So and you may have come across preload. So now we can add hints to the head of our document to get this stuff going faster. By preloading them, you get the script in earlier into the DOM, but you can still do a bit better. You can get your code loading and executing when it's ready by using async. So, oops. It's really difficult. So you can mark your scripts as async, and off they go. But the problem with async, of course, is that you are not preserving the execution order. It will execute in the order that it arrives. So you need something to coordinate those scripts, which will execute them in the order that they're supposed to, rather than the order in which they arrive. This gets them in a bit earlier in the... I'm wary of going back to my keynote presentation because I find it really difficult to exit from it from here. But it means that the scripts can download and be ready to execute as soon as they're ready, rather than waiting for the footer after a very large DOM object. And this is what we do at Tesco. So a simple wrapper script, let me show you one of these. Oops. Can work out, if you give it like an execution order for your script, it can work out which script is currently executing using the current script object, and leaf through everything that's loaded, and then kind of, execute them in the order. All you need to do is wrap each script with this what we call it is Gertrude, to execute them in the intended order rather than the order in which they arrive. So even though in this example, these scripts have, I can't quite expand it enough to show you the entire graph, but let's try and get that over there. Yeah, okay, so even though script 3 arrived later than script 4, because they've been artificially throttled, it executed in the correct order. And you can see the effect of this on this video that I've prepared. So no diss to any of these other people's, but they're doing roughly the same thing as us. They've got the same back end. They're doing it almost functionally exactly the same kind of thing. There's nothing different particularly about the technology, except there's probably more people on our site. But this is what happens. Yeah, we've done ages ago. Now, there's more JavaScript on this site than there is on these other ones. It's because we've let this page go and sort of freed it from the execution cycle of JavaScript that we're able to get it into the browser quicker. Now, this is kind of received wisdom at Tesco, and it's helped us a lot over the last few years. It was a bit of a faff to get it working, and there was quite a lot of arguments about browser support, because if you're, when we first introduced it, we were still supporting IE 9 and 10, and there's no current script object in IE 9 and 10, so we had to it meant abandoning script support for those browsers, so we were just serving them HTML. But now it's kind of not so contentious. IE 11, you have to use a little bit of a hack, which if anybody wants to see, I will gladly show them afterwards, but it's a bit difficult to demonstrate on here. So rather than using the current script object, you set async to false in the script property, and then it will execute in order. It's effectively giving it a kind of defer-like mechanism, but preserves the execution order anyway. So I'd like to show where I think this will go now. So modules have been around for a while in various forms, and their browser support for them is now very good. So the import, using static imports is supported in 90% of browsers. I have got some can I use kind of graphs, but it's roughly 90%. I'm really wary of bringing this back up on the screen. But I've got an example of how that can actually work in browsers now. So I've got another prize here. I've got script type module. It's the first thing it's going to execute. So then it's going to run console log inline module. I've got a normal script source. I've got script defer console log deferred inline script, and then a deferred module. I can't remember the answer, so good luck with this one. What order do you think the messages are going to be? Any guesses? Anybody want to hazard a guess? So it's an inline module, a normal script file, which is synchronously requested and executed, a deferred script, which allows the page to proceed, and a deferred external script. Tiff, are you going to have a guess? BDCA. Anybody else? It's worth, come on, there's a bottle of plonk. Anybody else? ABCD. No, that is definitely not right. Come on. BACD, okay. Right, so no one's saying A first, though, apart from the heckler. Okay, right, let's try it. Okay, here they come. Number 1, script source. Deferred inline script, inline module, deferred script. No one expected that. BDAC. I'm keeping this. This is now mine. Okay, right, there's another one up in a minute. Right, and if you think about it, you can see why. Sorry, I'm just going to have to get my notes so that I can remember why. Okay, so modules are defer by default. So script source was synchronously requested, and it goes first. They always go first. It doesn't matter what order you put it in, it will always go above a deferred thing, whether it's a normal deferred script or a deferred module. So the inline module then got precedence. So normal synchronous script sources get preference, then deferred inline scripts, then deferred normal scripts, inline module, and then the deferred script. I said that wrong, didn't I? The deferred script was last. Right, okay. Right, it's a bit weird. There's a lot to remember there. Right, static imported modules. On the next page. So, static imports. Okay, right, so here I've got a single module, so this is deferred by default. I don't need to put defer on it. Modules are deferred by default. And it will request module 1, which I've rather hackily coded into this template here in a great hurry earlier. And then I'm going to import 2 more modules from this module. Okay, so it's going to import module 2 and module 3, which just have a default function which logs something, as you might expect. So it logs module 2 or module 3. What order do you think the messages are going to be? Don't forget, bottle of plonk. So the messages will be, module 1 is loaded, module 2 default, module 3 default. Actually, in those modules, I think I left a, yeah, I did. So module 2 loaded will run, and then module 2. So does anybody want to have a guess at what order those messages are going to be? Does anyone know? 2, 3, 1. Anybody else?
Show us module 3.
Yeah. Okay, right, let's try it. What is it, 2, 3, 1, you reckon?
23 is number 1.
Any more? Any more? Bottle plonk.
3 to 1.
3, 2, 1, wow. Okay, here we go. Here they come. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No one got that? Okay, so what's happening here? These are statically imported modules, but they are synchronously statically imported, even though they're deferred. Okay, so, yeah. So these are the inline messages that happen when the file gets loaded in the browser. Then you get the execution of both modules 2 and 3. What's really weird, though, is that module 1 loaded, when requested by the browser using the declarative method, comes in third, after 2 and 3. And it's trying to preserve the execution order. The browser is trying to preserve the static execution order that is inferred by the declarative kind of syntax that's used for these. So it gets worse. Right. I then have dynamic imports. Okay, right. So module 1 is going to be requested. I've marked it async. And it is going to, module 1 is going to in turn load module 2, but this time it's not going to use the static method, it's going to use the import method, and this returns a promise. Okay, so you could write this as async, whatever fancy syntax you want to use, or you can use then, or yeah. But these are inherently async. Given that, what order do you think these are going to execute in? So same as before. Oops. So module 2 will be loaded, then module 3 will be loaded, and then module 1 is going to execute the methods imported from both those modules. There's some throttling on these, but if anybody thinks they want to have a guess at this, what order do you think they're going to run in? Okay. Right, they'll run in roughly in the order that you declare them in. So or the order that they load in, rather. So there was some throttling on this. So module 2, that wasn't really fair. I'd left the throttling on this one. Sorry, I'd copied and pasted it. But they load in the order, sorry, they execute in the order that they're loaded. And async means that that kind of control that you need over each module needs to be restored if you want to use async in this manner. Okay? Right. Very confusing. That's a bit disappointing. Sorry, I thought you'd win this. Never mind. I'll have to take these 2 bottles of Plonk home. I don't actually drink. I'll just take them home and look at them. Okay. Right. So what's next then? So how to use this stuff then? So I think you still need a kind of wrapper script around this. This has got some implications as well, because if you want to use dynamically imported modules, which seems like the most flexible way to do it, then you need that kind of wrapper script around them, but it doesn't need to be as onerous as the version which works for IE11. But then how are you going to make it work for IE11? Well, you can do it, but let's not get too deep into that. I'd advocate not doing it. I think you should just, it's now time to serve IE11 some HTML and let it go and play with its marbles. The static imports are effectively synchronous. Although you can have them in your site, you're effectively just including another static import. All modules in the browser are marked as deferred anyway, so you don't really need to add that anymore. The where will we get to? So I think it is worth doing given the performance advantages, and there's tooling starting to come out to make all of this work. So I'm going to go back into Keynote now. I'm going to brave it. Okay, right. So this is browser support for script type module. It's pretty good. It's basically this big red lump here that's really the problem, particularly for something like Tesco, where they get a lot of kind of people with a bit crapper technology using the site. I don't know, you might work on the latest fancy startup, but we don't get to do that. So using dynamic imports has slightly lower support, but still pretty good. And it's IE11 that's making up the kind of majority of the problems. There are some problems with doing this. So the current received wisdom of loading script in pages is that you mash everything together in a lump and then push that down the wire to people when they request it. So Webpack and other tools are used to kind of concatenate all your files into less requests. And for a long time, since about 2000, as long as I can remember making websites at Tesco, certainly, the fewer requests you have, the faster your site will load. But is that true anymore? There's there's a complication with modules in that they are inherently kind of made up of lots of little kind of files that you can post together to make one big file. And those are statically analyzed when they load in the browser. So the browser needs to go through, okay, I've got this module, and then I'll load these other ones. Oh, that imports some more modules. So these requests are done in series, so that could get very slow. So really, to make this work in browsers, you need something which will kind of give the browser some idea of what all the modules are up front, unless you want to concatenate them into a giant file still. So there is also a rel module preload. So unlike using preload for other assets, so if you've loaded large images on your site before using preload, or you've got something else that you need to stuff down the wire to people, you need to use this. There's some complexity when using modules with preloads, because modules have their own kind of security attributes. You need to kind of declare to the browser what the cause attributes for this thing are if they're loaded cross-origin. And you also need to, you need to give more information about the preload to browsers so that it can start to parse and, well, not execute, but kind of get ready to use it in the way that it's intended. Browser support for that is not great at the moment, but it's coming. But I think this is kind of a requirement to use modules in the browser. So do we need to concatenate files anyway? I think this needs to be answered as well. So this is research done by someone else. This is not done by me, but I thought it was very useful. So we have HTTP2 now. I think pretty much everyone's using that, or browsers support it. Do we need to concatenate all our files together? Not really, no. So if you've got 1,000 files, then yeah, you do need to reduce the amount of requests. That's much slower. If you're using 6 files, then that's great. But there's no difference, practically, between 6 files and 50 files. And that, to me, is the difference between using kind of a bundler with a lot of complexity around it, and then smashing everything together into a few bundles, and the difference between not doing that, which is obviously much easier. So I think you can see where this is kind of going. The tooling for this, the tooling to start using modules in the browser now, this is what I've been playing around with. I've not got very far with it. I've got an example, but it statically analyzes your module tree for you and builds a site for you, but it doesn't kind of smush stuff into one lump anymore. I recommend trying that and having a go with it. But this is roughly the direction I think all of this kind of these related technologies are going. So we've got modules in browsers using dynamic imports if you want to be async, if you've got a good use case for that. And then we've also got tools like Snowpack and module changes in the browser like module preload, and also IE11 dying a death. But this is roughly the direction that I think this technology is going. Anyway, I think that's about everything that I wanted to say. It's a lot of money. So it's a small percentage, but it's a lot of money. It's also disproportionate for Tesco because it's much more of an everyman kind of site than, say, I don't know, something really cool. So it's not inconsiderate amount of money, but with tools like React and isomorphic kind of rendering, we can, I think, realistically say to people, here's a HTML page. They'll forgive you for that. We've done it before, and not serve them JavaScript, and also miss out a bunch of complexity around bundling. I think it's worth doing. We have shops in a bunch of different countries, and we usually test stuff out in Slovakia because there's not many people there. So yeah, if you're ever shopping on the Slovakian grocery site and it goes a lot faster suddenly, you'll probably see why.